Hey, pretty people. My name is Bins, and I welcome you to this video on the addictive minimalist factory builder, Shapez. If you've been following along on the channel, or if you're a subscriber, you might have noticed it's gone quiet on here for a while. Does that mean I haven't been playing? Well, not at all. On the contrary even, I'm currently heavily invested in Shapez. But the lack of videos, there is a reason for that. And it can be explained by my trajectory in this game and the goals I've set for myself. The first series on this channel was the TMAM series, about a true make-anything machine for this game. This is also the machine that you currently see on screen. That's the save game I loaded up. And after having reviewed this machine, I started playing the Shapez Industries mod. First, there was the Let's Play series, in which I played the 26 predetermined levels blind, and then after that, the Road to TMAM series, where I documented my pursuit of a make-anything machine in Shapez Industries. And now, my next objective is a true make-anything machine in Shapez Industries, which is what I am currently working on. This is a huge undertaking and a super challenging project that involves a lot of thinking and breaking my head over a lot of stuff, not to mention the amount of swearing I do on a regular basis. So, while that project is ongoing, and it is something I am extremely excited to pursue and share with you in a new video series once it's done, in the meantime, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging and do a little video in between just to keep your interest wet. So, if you've seen me play in previous videos, or, I guess you can already figure from this one, you may have noticed that I have a ton of mods installed for Shapez, and gameplay for me has meanwhile strayed quite far from what the vanilla game offers. So I thought, you know what? Maybe it would be a good idea to do a separate video on that in which I showcase all of the mods that I am using. You, in turn, may be inspired to use some of them for yourself if you want. I'll be sure to leave links in the description as to where you can find and download them. And otherwise, if not, maybe it's just a nice demonstration of what mods can do for you in this game. Perhaps you have been wondering how I got certain things to look or behave a certain way. And if so, then this video will satisfy that curiosity for you. Are you ready? Here we go. Now, before we get into the actual mod pack, I feel like the first item on today's list has to be the Shapez Launcher, made by Denger. It's a little program for Windows that lets you preemptively select and deselect which mods you'd like to launch the game with. The thing is that by default, Shapez will launch with any of the mods that you have installed in the corresponding mods folder on your hard drive. And in order to disable any of those mods, you have to physically move the file to a different location. Now, if you're someone that likes to switch between game modes a lot like I do, then moving all of those files from and to the folder becomes a bit of a pain in the neck quite quickly. And the Shapez Launcher remedies that, and so I absolutely recommend installing it for yourself. The link to that mod, or to that program, because it's not a mod, the link to that program is in the description. And then we can get to the actual mods that I am playing with. Because the list is quite long, I will try to keep this video transparent and structured, so I divided the mods into categories. And the first category we'll have a look at is the one where extra buildings are added to the game. And the first, you know what, let's find an empty spot on the map, like so. So the first mod that I want to show off is the Add Block Building mod by Waffle Devs, and what it does is it simply gives you this block building that comes from the Shapez Puzzle DLC. Now, you may know this if you have the Puzzle DLC, and basically the only added value is decorative. I may use it for decorative purposes here. It doesn't really do anything else. So let's get on to the next mod, and that mod is the node building mod by Script. Now this mod is kind of useful. You can use it to put nodes on your map, and you can write some stuff on those nodes, you know, some stuff like so. There you go. And you know, you can play around. It has a pin on the wiring layer. You can play around with it for a bit. You can, you know, if you input colors, then the text will change colors. Some fun stuff like that. So if you explore with that a bit, I did it for this machine as well. Here are my node buildings, and they inform what the machine is currently trying to do with the shape. So that is the node building mod by Script. The next mod and mod building that I would like to talk about is the virtual quad painter by Denger. Now, he explicitly told me to say that it's a work in progress because the sprite isn't fully fleshed out, and I told him that I didn't really care. But what the quad painter, the virtual quad painter does is, well, the same thing as the quad painter does on the physical layer. It's basically an exact replica of that. So you have your color inputs coming from the bottom, you have your shape input coming from the right, and then the quad painter, it just quad paints the signal like the regular painter would do on the physical layer, right? So that's that. What else we have? We have the Yet Another Producer mod by Skimner-Fi, and this Yet Another Producer, I've talked about it quite a lot, is an item producer building. There are more than one item producer, but what the YAP mod, or the Yet Another Producer mod, does is add this item producer from the puzzle DLC, in which you can directly input any constant shape, and it will start outputting that. And the advantage of that, compared to the regular item producer, in my opinion, is that this one does not require anything on the wiring layer. So this one requires a signal from the wiring layer. The advantage of that is that you can make this signal, you know, variable. You can vary what comes out of this producer. With this one, you can't. However, you can you know, drag buildings on the wiring layer across it, and it doesn't conflict. This one would conflict, and that's why I like to use this one a lot better. Now, with that mod also comes the Go Acceptor, which is basically a trash can with a built-in display. This one also comes from the puzzle DLC, and yeah, I like to use that one quite a lot, especially in later stages of the game. Let's see, what else is there? Well, a mod I obviously play with, but that I don't have installed now, is the Shapez Industries mod. Now, the Shapez Industries mod, as you probably know, is one of the most you know, intrusive, game-changing mods that there is. I have plenty of videos. 2 entire video series are dedicated to that Shapez Industries mod, so be sure to check them out if you haven't. Now, what else is there? There is another mod which adds quite a lot of buildings on the wiring layer, and that is the Wires Plus mod by Skimner-Fi. Now, I feel like this mod is worthy of its own video because it is quite extensive in and by itself. But what it does, for example, is it adds the virtual rotator 180 degrees. It adds the virtual rotator counterclockwise, which aren't part of the regular units in vanilla. And then also, there is a ton of stuff. Virtual mixer, virtual unmixer, smart stacker, smart painter, nipper, color adder, color subtractor. All of these things come with the Wires Plus mod. Another thing is that you have 4 types of belt colors, of wire colors, whereas you would usually have 2. You have a lot more of these wire crossing units. There is really a lot of stuff to get into, and I feel like the Wires Plus mod is worthy of its own separate video. which is the reason why I am not going to talk about it anymore in this one. Now, a thing I do want to say is that if you have the Shapez Industries mod installed, then there is a virtual combiner unit that is also included in the Wires Plus mod. And another mod I have installed is called the MetaPatch by Emanresu. I don't know really how to pronounce his username, but I assume that's how it's pronounced. So what the MetaPatch mod does is actually fixes a small bug in the Wires Plus mod, which I can't really demonstrate because I need to run the Shapez Industries mod for that. But the Wires Plus mod, if you run Shapez Industries alongside it, it also has a virtual combiner. And the virtual combiner on the wires layer is capable of handling smelted shapes, whereas the physical one is not. So what the Wires Patch mod by Emanresu does is it aligns the virtual combining unit so that it does not accept smelted shapes. Okay, that's that in terms of the mods I use that come with adding extra types of buildings to the game. The second category of mods is the one I like to call cheaty mods. You know, just cheater mods. These mods provide, an easy way out. And I would advise against using any of them as long as you are in any of the 26 predetermined levels. Because the way I see it, you have to, let's say, earn these mods for yourself. If you install them too soon, then that's just shooting yourself in the foot, I feel like. You miss out on a lot of exploration and, gaining deeper knowledge, deeper understanding of this game if you let these mods do the work for you. You know what I mean? So the first mod in that category is the Fill Storages mod by FatCatX and SkimnerFi. So what it does, it's basically just a little cheaty thing that if you have, let's say, basically any shape or any value and you decide to put that into a storage, then it may take a ton of time for your storages to fill up. Except if you have this mod, then with the click of a button, boom, it is your entire storage is filled to the brim. And you can also empty it again with another click of the button. So this mod also adds hotkeys to your system menu, to your configuration menu, and you can customize those. So that is pretty handy if you ask me. Then the next mod I would like to talk about, you can already see it in the bottom left corner. That is MicroSandbox by Denger. And it's the cheatiest mod I have. I think it lets you upgrade, it lets you freely choose which upgrade tiers you have. And it also lets you custom set the level. So you can just move up and down through your levels as if you had never, created the actual shapes. It also unlocks free blueprints if you're sick and tired of that. It can unlock, unlock rewards. I think is a bit of a misleading denomination. What it does is just it unlocks all your units from the beginning if you want it to. So if I turn that off, I see it doesn't even seem to work anymore. And then apparently it also has this infinite storages, which I guess contradicts the fill storage mod. But yeah, that's what that does. MicroSandbox, if you are in later stages of the game where you are building, complex machines, you finish the game, you're in Freeplay, you have some non-intended purpose with this game, then by all means use the MicroSandbox. But as far as my recommendation goes, as long as you are still invested in the game, playing the game, then do not use the MicroSandbox because you will miss out on a lot of, fun, explorational fun as far as I'm concerned. So that is that. The third and next category is the one of so-called QOL or quality of life mods. These mods don't enhance the game or anything, but rather the game play. Quality of life mods are there to make life easier on the player, and most of them involve graphical representation of the game, or they may add extra tools that you as a player can use so that the game becomes more user-friendly, essentially. By far the most mods I use are in this category, and the first one is by Amonresu again, and that is the Chainable Extractors mod. Now, to show off what that does, actually I need to switch my save game, so be back with you in a bit. Okay, so the Chain Extractors mod, what it does is, let's find a patch of resources. The interesting thing, well, it doesn't seem to work for me at this moment for some reason. What it usually will do is your chained extractors, you have to place them down one by one, and this mod makes it so, it's a little gimmicky mod, it makes it so that you can drag it like a belt, so it would behave like this, right? The orientation of the extractors normally goes into the direction you drag your mouse in, but I see it's not working for me right now, so I have to point that out to the developer to see what the case would be. But usually, you know, if I dragged my mouse along like that, it would spontaneously put the extractors down like this. And you know, this is not life-changing, but it is convenient. It saves a bit of space, a bit of time, I mean, and it's a convenient mod to work with. And the reason I had to load up my game differently is because of another mod I have installed that we will get back to, that removes all of the resources on the map, and I needed a resource patch to display what that mod does. Right. Alright, so continuing, number 11 on this list is ColorCoded by Dinger, and what ColorCoded does is if you select one or more pieces, you get this toolbar on the right-hand side here that lets you select a color. Just a bit gimmicky, that's what it does. So it just, you know, colors it like you know, aerosol or something. It spray paints a color over your units, and it doesn't really do much except, you know, it's visual. It's, you know, it's gimmicky. I used it for decoration purposes here, so if that is something you would like, it doesn't have any practical purpose, but yeah, if that's something you would like to use, then ColorCoded by Dinger. The next one is a big one, at least for me, and that is the custom CSS mod, also by Dinger. So if you have noticed that all of my menus are looking funky and are located in different locations than where they are supposed to go, or where the base game usually puts them, then that is because of the custom CSS mod. So thanks to a hotkey, and let me see if I remember which one it is actually. Yeah, I have it set to Control F8, so if I click that, I can start adding my custom CSS to the game, and that will just change the layout, and I've done that with a whole lot of stuff. Now, it does require you to know HTML and CSS. If you don't, then this mod is not for you. But yeah, I like it a lot because it allowed me to customize my, you know, my user interface, and this way the gameplay is a lot more relaxed for me. So that's what that mod does. Then number 13 on this list is a great mod, and that is the custom pins mod. So as you can see, I have my pins here. Usually they're on the left-hand side, right, in the top left, but I put them at the top. And I have all of these pins that would usually be impossible to put on there. And that is thanks to the custom pins mod. If you install that, you get this extra pin icon in your menu right here. And it allows you to just put a custom shape on your in your list of pinned shapes, and then you can also choose whether you want the delivery rate or the throughput displayed rather than the amount that is currently in the hub. Apparently this shape, I created 136,000 of them already, right? But yeah, just like with any pin, you can remove these shapes and put them in your pinned list. So I really like that a lot in terms of quality of life. The next one, number 14 on the list, is Displays on Wire Layer by NabbyDude. And this one doesn't really do much, and still I think it is a very useful mod to have. So you see these displays right here, right? And the thing is, if you go to the wiring layer in vanilla, then these shapes are faded just like the rest of the units. And since displays are often something you want to use in conjunction with wires, what this mod does is it makes the shapes, it makes the displays very clearly show their shapes instead of, you know, this bluish greenish overlay that the entire map gets when you go into the wiring, when you go to the wiring layer. You know, it brings them to the foreground. That's what that does. A cute little mod, that's all it does. But, you know, for me, it is very useful. So I would definitely recommend using this one. And then the next one, number 15 on my list for today, is closely related to that. It's the Lit Displays mod by Denger. It's very comparable. What it does is that when you go into map overview mode, and map overview mode is the mode where your map switches from showing the actual units to, you know, this schematic thing. So what it does is the Lit Displays mod is if you have colors on your displays, then those will be shown in map overview mode as well. Let's see, let's test that. So I'm going to add a display here. I'm going to put a red color on it, like so. And then we go into map overview mode and okay, I may have forgotten what this, oh yeah, there we go. It doesn't work on the wire. That one does not work on the wire layer, but this one does. So you see this red dot, it indicates that we have a red value on that display. It stays lit. That's what that mode does. So continuing, one of my favorite mods for later stages of the game is the Node Zapper by Skimnerfy. Now, I disabled the Node Zapper to show one of the previous mods, but usually what it would do is it removes all of the source patches, and you know, if you zoom out, then it just creates an entire visual mess. If you are working with big machines, at least that's my experience, you know, they just pollute the screen, basically. And they contaminate the screen visually. It becomes more stressful to look at the screen, find the different units you're trying to find, and the Node Zapper gets rid of all those patches. So obviously you would need to use that in combination with, for example, item producers. But if you do that, then the map looks a lot cleaner. And for me, visually, I find that calming, soothing, and a lot more pleasant to play with. All right, continuing, number 17 on this list is an absolute heavyweight as far as I'm concerned for everyone that wants to work with wires and complex wiring setups, and that is the Pause and Step mod by FatCatX. So have a look at this. We're gonna put a signal on this wire, just maybe a 1. And then I am going to send that 1 through, let's say, a bunch of transistors, all right? So here we go. Or we're just going to use the diodes. These diodes come with the Wires Plus mod. So what you may or may not know is that every unit on the wiring layer takes 1 tick to compute the input and provide the output. And a tick is basically an in-game unit of time. So depending on your frame rate, let's have a look at my frame rate. It's currently very low. It's at 8. And that means that I have 8 to 9 ticks per second. That means that that in 1 second, a signal can travel through 8, 9, 7, whatever the frame rate at that moment is, of these units. Now, the pause and step mod, what it does is it allows you to pause the game. Now the game is paused with the click of a button, and it also drastically boosts my frame rate. So if I connect this wire now, then it will not immediately activate. And then with the click of a button, this also comes with hotkey settings. I can advance the game by 1 tick, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Right? So if you are working with complex wiring setups like I have been for, this TMAM in Shapez, then the pause and step mod is an absolute must-have as far as I'm concerned. It's a super useful mod, but only if you're involved in this really advanced wiring setups and if you want to make your machines fast, and basically if you're starting to build mini computers with this game on the wiring layer, then you absolutely need the pause and step mod as far as I'm concerned. Alright, continuing, this is also a small mod which is called the Quad Painter Wirepeek by Skimmerfi. It doesn't really do much except it adds a Wirepeek for the Quad Painter. Now, I hear you think, what is Wirepeek? Well, Wirepeek is it comes with it's a functionality of the game that comes with certain units. If you place them on the physical layer, then you see this circle, this radius around it, that makes the wire layer transparent, right? So if I try to put it down here, then within that radius, I can see what's going on the wire layer, right? That is the Wirepeek functionality. And now what this mod does is it adds it to the Quad Painter as well. There we go. So if we want to place down a Quad Painter, I can see where that would conflict with my wiring. And it doesn't come with the vanilla game, so this is a small little patch, a small little addition that adds that, and it makes life just a tad easier as far as I'm concerned. Let's continue. Number 19, Recent Codes by Denger. So Recent Codes is also a small little quality of life mod that I like a lot. If you put down a constant signal, you have a list of recent codes here. So you can reuse the codes that you used before. And it's just this small little thing that, it doesn't change the world, but it makes the game ever so slightly more pleasant to play with as far as I'm concerned. So that is the Recent Codes the Recent Codes mod by Denger. And ever since I installed that, I've just, I'm enjoying playing the game a lot more. Okay, number 20, continuing. It's the Select Variant mod by Emanresu, and this is basically a hotkey mod that adds hotkey combinations to your game. So you have your regular hotkeys, right? I can press 1 for the belt, 2 for the balancers, 3 for the tunnels, 4 for the extractors, etc. You can customize these hotkeys if you want to, but the Select Variant mod also adds the opportunity to add hotkeys to selecting a variant, which you usually would have to cycle through with the T button. So you see here, press T to cycle variants, right? And now with the Select Variant mod, you can do that, directly with the press of a button. So for example, you see that the unstacker here, that is number 5 in the list. That is the 5th unit in the list. So what I could do is just press Alt 5 or Alt 1 to select the virtual cutter, Alt 6 to virtual rotator, 7, 8, etc. So a small little hotkey mod that I really like to use, the Select Variant mod by Emanresu. Next on the list, number 21 is Simple Blueprints by Denger. He also made this specifically on my request, And this is when you are in map overview, right? Usually, when you copy something around, this is a bit hard to explain, but if you copy stuff, then you get this bluish colored thing of your wires, right? And when you go into map mode, then usually this thing you see on screen right here, this representation, it would be retained. So the sprites, right? The graphic, the way these things are rendered, these units are rendered, that would be retained on the map overview mode. And now, in my experience, when you zoom out a whole lot, it becomes super hard to align if the units remain rendered the way they are. So I asked Dinger to make these schematics just like the other units in the map overview. So that is what that mod does. It is, again, it doesn't move mountains, this mod, but it just adds this small little thing, and all of these things combined for me make the game a lot more fun to play. So that is the Simple Blueprints mod. Another one that is small and cute, it doesn't do much, but it is so much fun to use, is Throwback. And what Throwback does is the following. Let's say we have a custom marker on the map. Now, we let's say we are somewhere on the map. We click the custom marker. Let's say maybe we have a blueprint warehouse here or something. Now I can just press the backspace button and I go back to where I came from. So imagine that I am building something right here, and I'm like, oh yeah, I would like to check something on this point of my map. Go to the custom marker that we just made, do whatever it is I want to do here, and now with one click of a button, boom, I can get back to the part of the machine that I was actually working at before. So yeah, Throwback, one of my favorite mods, super simple, but ever since that one's been around, I've been much more of a happy man. Another one of these small mods, also by Danger, is the Trash Fixer. So if you have been playing Shapes, you may or may not have noticed that if you copy a piece of whatever and you rotate it, then your shapes, or your trashes rather, you can see this in the blueprint actually, your trash items get rotated. And if you have any level of OCD like I do, then that is not something that you are willing to work with. So what the Trash Fixer does is it just topples this unit so that the trash can is always facing the right orientation, you know, just upright. And yeah, I like that. So again, if I want to copy something and I rotate that, then the trash does not get rotated along. It fixes itself, and I am really happy with that little addition. Continuing, the Wire Shifter, also by Denger. Great mod if you ask me, and I don't know why I have interruptions on these lines. Let's quickly fix that. So, the Wire Shifter, super simple, super easy, one click of a button, boom, look at this, and my wires are shifted in color. Usually they would flip between blue and green because those are the, the base colors available, but because I have the Wires Plus mod installed, I have 4 colors of wires, and all I need to do is press a button. In my case, it's the R button, and the wires just swap their colors, which can be very convenient at times. So that is the Wire Shifter mod. Hold on, let's put that back. There we go. Excuse me. Yeah, there we go. All right, that's the Wire Shifter. Next, one of my favorites, and that is the... I've done a lot of stuff wrong here. What have I been doing? Oh, I'll just leave it at that. One of my favorites, and you can find this on the shapes.mod.io site as well, is Blueprint strings. So if you have ever struggled with having an interesting module or part of a machine or an entire machine perhaps in one save game, and you would like to send that to a friend, or you would want to copy it from one save game to the next, then that's utterly impossible with this with this game. And that is until the Blueprint Strings mod by FatCatX. So for example, I'm just going to take this random example. Let's just say, hey, look at my cool belt weaving I did right here. I can just copy this, and you will see this notification in the top right, in the bottom right, Blueprint copy to the clipboard. Now watch when I get a notepad out and I paste that. Here is my Blueprint string. I can send that to a friend. I could just copy paste it to a friend, and when a friend copies this text and then in their save game they press the V button, then they will get exactly that thing. So extremely useful if you are collaborating, or if you want to bring stuff from one save game but you prefer to work in another save game, for example, with a certain type of module that you've made. This works for both the physical layer and the wiring layer. Then you absolutely need the Blueprint Strings mod by FatCatX and Skimnerfy. Excuse me, they collaborated on that. All right. Next mod, you already see it in action actually, is the Colored Matrices by Denger. Now the Colored Matrices allows you to set custom colors for your units when you are in map overview. So you see that, for example, the filter here, when you go into map overview mode like this, then it gets this orangey color, and this is a trash, it is red. Now the Colored Matrices lets you customize that. So let's go into the menu, let's have a look at that. Here we are in the menu. So if I click the mods button and then I go to Colored Matrices settings, you can see that I can customize the colors of all of the units. Perhaps you don't like the colors, or when you are in map overview, you find the contrast is too low or maybe too high, or whatever reason. Basically, you can just change the colors that these units have. I have done that on a couple of occasions, but not too much. I basically like the colors. The contrast is good the way I like the way it is for me. I've changed some colors here and there, but the thing is you can just click it, choose a custom color, and then that will be that. So that is the Colored Matrices by Denger. The next one is Map Observer. This is meanwhile mod number 27 in my list. And since we are in the menu, let's stay in the menu for a while, because it tells me right here what I could do. First of all, I can customize map colors. So the ability to choose your background. You saw that my background had this dark blue, marine blue color. I've chosen that with this mod, so you can you can do a lot of stuff here. You have a few options here. You can see I chose these colors, and it also has some zooming, some zoom options. So now let's get back to the game. You can ignore that for the time being. Let's open this save. All right, so the Map Observer, it does a few things that I really like, especially since I started building these big machines. I've found that, you know, I wanted to be able to zoom out more, get more of my machine on screen. And that's one of the things that Map Observer lets you do. So it allows you to set a custom zoom factor. And I am able to zoom out a lot farther than usually would be the case. So these are things I am currently working on. Spoilers for my Shapez Industries TMAM. But yeah, the Map Observer does that. But not only that, it also allows you to set the, let's say, the threshold value where the view switches to map overview mode. So if you compare this zoom level to your zoom level, probably you will already be in map overview mode at this zoom level. And now Map Observer lets you change that value, that threshold value, let's say, where it switches from the regular view to map overview. And then one final thing it does is it adds a hotkey to immediately jump through to regular view with one click of a button. For me, this is the H button I set it to. So if I click that, have a look at this, we immediately go into the regular view, into that threshold value that you can also set with this mod. Okay, what else is there? Well, let's get back to the menu. And the next mod I want to talk about is Mod Extras, also by Denger. And what it does is it basically reconfigures the user interface for mods. So if I click this mods button right here, you see that I have a list of mods on the left, and then this description on the right. And that is usually not what that menu looks like at all. So there is a mod that is responsible for this layout. It's kind of a meta mod, so to speak, and that's the Mod Extras. Now, it does a ton of stuff that, has to do with coding that I don't really understand much. And that also brings me to the next mods that I want to talk about. So these are all the quality of life mods that I have installed. It's quite a list. And there are a few mods in this list that don't really contribute to the gameplay experience at all, but that are purely behind the scenes code, among others, to make some of the other mods compatible with the game to begin with. Don't ask me how they work, but I've got a mod installed called, let's see, where is it? It's called MetaPatch by Skimner-Fi. And the other one is Overview Hook by Denger. And to be honest, I don't know what they do. They just, I install them and they make life work for me. So if they don't do any harm, then that's good. I don't know which mods depend on having these ones installed. I don't really care. Just install them and you will be fine. While we are in the menu, let's look at this next one that is called... Hold on, let me find it. Excuse me, where are you? I'm looking for... Oh, it's not listed. Is it not listed as a separate mod? No, it appears it isn't. Well, it doesn't really matter. It's called UniKeys. And if we go into the settings right here and we look at key bindings, then UniKeys adds all kinds of stuff in your key bindings list. So if you're a kind of player that generally prefers the keyboard over the mouse, I sure know I am, then definitely be sure to add UniKeys. So you get a lot more key bindings than the game usually offers, and you can customize pretty much everything to a point where I was like, hey, I am almost running out of keys on my keyboard, By the way, you can also find the other mods that I mentioned that had hotkeys. You can also find them in the list if you've added them, like the custom CSS. You can set a hotkey for that, etc. So yeah, that is UniKeys, also by Denger. And then we're almost there. There is one final mod I would like to talk about, and I've had a bit of a hand in it myself, actually. It's the Floating Freeplay mod. This one was made by Skimner-Fi, and it essentially saw daylight because I requested it, so massive thanks for that. Floating Freeplay is a gem of a mod, that challenges anyone that has the ambition to build a TMAM in this game. From level 27 upwards, that mod will take the shapes that the hub would usually request in Freeplay mode and replace them with shapes that may have floating layers. Now, for those of you that don't know, floating layers are contained in the dreaded level 20 logo shape and the level 26 rocket shape, and are regarded as the most challenging shapes in this game. So, and while regular Freeplay in vanilla wouldn't ever request such shapes, this mod, Floating Freeplay, will put Freeplay on steroids for those of you that want the extra challenge. And by extension, I've dabbled with a spin-off of the Floating Freeplay mod, which I call the TMAM Gauntlet. The TMAM Gauntlet is a die-hard game mode where the first 30 levels have been replaced by a set of handcrafted super challenging shapes, and if you manage to do them all, let alone build a TMAM that can solve these levels for you, you may call yourself a true shapes master. Now, for all practical purposes, this mod would have to be combined with one that lets you unlock all of the units from the beginning, because otherwise these shapes can simply not be created. The TMAM Gauntlet isn't available for download anywhere, so if you would like to take on that challenge, let me know and I will send it to you. But in any case, we have seen it in action. I currently have it activated, and you see that we get these super weird shapes even before Freeplay mode, and also the little text here reads Gauntlet. And yeah, this starts from level 1. So in level 1 you already get floating shapes, and I have handcrafted these myself. Skimnerfi helped me implement them, but they are still randomized. So even though they are always the same, each level always poses the same challenge, the shapes will still be randomized. So yeah, if that's a challenge you want to take on, one of the toughest challenges in this game as far as I'm concerned, then let me know. And yeah, let's see if you can run, or your machine can run the TMAM Gauntlet, right? Alright, so, and I think that will be that for today. There are many more mods for shapes that I don't use. And there's a ton of them to discover. If you are interested and want to play around with mods yourself, then I would suggest checking out any of the links I provided in the description below, and from there on explore for yourself which other mods there are that I haven't mentioned. If there are mods that you like to use, mods that you want to recommend or you want me to check out, feel free to leave your suggestion in the comment. And then all that is left for me to say is thank you for being with me today. I hope you had fun. I hope you found it interesting. In the meantime, I will continue to work on the first ever Shapez Industries true Make Anything machine. So if you want to be kept in the loop when those videos drop, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you will get updated when that happens. All that's left for me to do now is thank you for watching. Have an excellent day. I am signing out. Ciao.